Imagine it's a blistering hot summer afternoon. The ground is cracked, the air is heavy, and you're just begging for some relief. Finally, you look up and see massive, dark clouds rolling across the sky. You get ready for a refreshing downpour, but a sudden gust of wind blows every single cloud away. The sky is empty again, and not a single drop of rain falls. It's a total letdown. Near the end of the Bible, there's a short letter called the Book of Jude. He uses this exact picture of a disappointing, empty cloud to explain a problem that was happening in his community. When Jude first sat down to write, he actually wanted to share a happy story. He planned to write about the wonderful way God had rescued them and the friendship they all shared. But he realized he couldn't do that. He had to change his plans and send an urgent warning instead, because things weren't as good as they looked from the outside. Some sneaky people had quietly joined their group. They looked and acted like everyone else, so at first, nobody noticed they were there. These people were telling a dangerous lie. They said that because God is kind and forgives us, it doesn't matter how we act. They used God's forgiveness as an excuse to be mean or do whatever they wanted. They also refused to listen to Jesus. They didn't want him to be their leader or tell them the right way to live, preferring to make up their own rules instead. When people stop following the rules and start treating each other poorly, the whole community starts to break. It's like a team where players start tripping their own teammates. Eventually, nobody is safe, and the joy of the game is ruined for everyone. So, how do you spot people who are making things unsafe? Jude gives us some nature pictures that help us see the truth. First, he calls them clouds without rain. They are like people who make big, exciting promises to help, but when the time comes, they deliver absolutely nothing. Second, he compares them to autumn trees without fruit. Instead of growing good things that help others, they are empty and dry, eventually getting pulled right out of the ground. Third, they are like wild waves of the sea. Just like an angry ocean churns up mud and foam on the beach, these people leave a mess of hurt feelings and shame everywhere they go. Finally, he calls them wandering stars. Most stars stay in their safe, set paths, but these people are like a star that spirals away into the dark, leaving the light behind because they refuse to follow God's way. All of these pictures teach the same lesson. Someone might look impressive or sound smart, but if they aren't producing any goodness, they will only lead you into the dark. Jude explains that this isn't a new problem. He tells us to look back at history to see what happens when people choose their own way over God's. Take a look at these rough, rocky mountains. This is the wilderness God's people walked through after he rescued them from Egypt. It was a difficult place, but God was right there with them. Even though God saved them, many people later decided they didn't want to trust him anymore. They rebelled and tried to go their own way, and because they left God's protection, they faced destruction. These ruined salt formations mark the spot where the towns of Sodom and Gomorrah once stood. The people there completely gave up on being good, and this wasteland shows the sadness and loss that followed their choices. Jude's history lesson is simple. When we ignore the truth and choose to rebel, we end up in a very lonely, difficult place. What do we actually do when we run into these empty influences today? Jude gives us a way to stay safe. We pile up the truth we know, stacking heavy, glowing bricks into an unshakable foundation. We ask God's invisible helper, the Holy Spirit, to guide our hearts. This wraps us in God's love, surrounding our foundation with a protective light against the darkness. We also need to keep a close eye on our friends. If you see someone getting confused by bad advice, don't be mean to them. Instead, be patient and help them find their way back. We have to be brave enough to run toward people who have wandered into trouble and help them get out. Jude says we should act like we are snatching a friend away from a fire. Standing up for the truth and looking out for others can feel like a massive job, especially when you're worried about making a mistake. But Jude shares a secret at the very end of his letter. We don't have to keep ourselves safe all by ourselves. With so many wandering stars and empty clouds out there, how can we be sure we won't get lost too? We trust in God. Jude says that God is able to keep you from stumbling. It's like walking on a slippery path and having a strong hand that catches you and holds you steady every time you trip. Because God is watching over us, we can be full of joy. We can confidently give Him all the glory and power through Jesus Christ, knowing He's got us, now and forever.